You've probably heard it a million times. India's elections are the biggest in the world. But what does that actually mean? I mean, beyond just the sheer size of it all. Today, we're going to peel back the layers and really get into what makes this massive event a truly democratic one. Okay, so just to give you a sense of the scale, in the 2019 general elections, more than 612 million people voted. Let that sink in for a second. That is more than the entire population of North America. It's just mind-boggling, right? But here's the thing. Does being massive automatically make an election democratic? Right. That's the big question, isn't it? What's the secret sauce? What are those key ingredients that make an election genuinely free, fair, and a real reflection of what the people want? Well, that's exactly what we're going to break down today. So here's our game plan. First, we'll look at the guardian of the vote. Then we'll dive into the people's voice. After that, a crucial part, accepting the final verdict. And finally, we'll tackle the challenges and citizen power. All right, let's jump into our first section, the guardian of the vote. We're talking about the one institution that makes this whole thing possible, the Independent Election Commission of India, or the ECI. Think of it as the ultimate referee, making sure everyone plays by the rules. Now, what's really important to understand is that the Election Commission gets its power directly from the Constitution of India, not from any political party, not from the government of the day. And this is huge. It gives the Commission complete control over the entire election process. We're talking real authority, real power to get things done. And believe me, its powers are, well, they're vast. The ECI isn't just about setting dates and counting votes. No. It supervises every single thing. It enforces a very strict code of conduct. It stops the ruling party from using government resources for their campaign. And get this, it can even order a complete re-election in a constituency if it smells something fishy. For that period of time, it is the supreme authority. Period. So, I mentioned the Model Code of Conduct, the MCC. What is that exactly? Well, think of it like the official rulebook for the election game. It's a set of guidelines that all political parties have agreed to follow, and its main job is to stop anyone from misusing power or money. For instance, it says a big no to things like hate speech or using religion to get votes. It's all about keeping the campaign trail clean and the election fair. Okay, so having a strong, independent referee is absolutely crucial. But a democracy, well, it's nothing without the people, right? So for our next section, let's talk about the people's voice and see just how loudly the Indian voter speaks. You know, here's something really interesting. In a lot of older, established democracies in the West, you see voter turnout kind of going down. But in India, it's been going up. Look at this. In 2019, the turnout was a massive 67.4%. That's just a little bit more than the UK and the US in their recent elections. This isn't just a number. It says so much about people's faith in the power of their vote. But the really fascinating part is who is coming out to vote. This is where the story gets so powerful. It's often the poorest people, Dalits, who have been historically marginalized, and voters in rural areas who turn out in the largest numbers. This is completely the opposite of what you see in many other parts of the world. It shows that for these communities, their vote is everything. It's their voice, their power, their best tool for change. And we have the data to back this up. If you look at the 2004 general election, for example, the turnout among scheduled castes and tribes was noticeably higher than among the so-called upper castes. It just goes to show the people who have the most to gain or lose are the ones who are most invested in the process. So you've got an independent commission. You've got tons of people voting. Great. But what happens after the last vote is counted? This brings us to what might be the single most important test of any democracy, accepting the final verdict. Now, this might sound super obvious, but it's actually incredibly profound. In India, ruling parties lose. All the time. At the national level, at the state level, and when they lose, they step down. This peaceful transfer of power, that's the real proof of the pudding. It shows the elections are real, they're competitive, and everyone respects the final say of the people. And history is filled with examples. In 1977, after the emergency, the mighty Congress Party lost. It happened to them again in 1989. Fast forward to 2004, and the ruling BJP-led coalition was voted out. Then in 2014, it was the Congress-led UPA's turn to be voted out. Every single time, the handover of power was peaceful. This pattern, this acceptance of the people's decision, is what gives the whole system its strength. Okay, but let's be real. No democracy is perfect, right? And India definitely has its fair share of challenges. So in our last section, we're going to look at some of these tough issues head on. But more importantly, we'll see how citizens are stepping up to the plate. So 3 big challenges really stand out. First, there's the massive influence of money. I mean, when you hear that over 85% of MPs are crororepatis, that's millionaires, you have to wonder if it's becoming a rich person's game. Then there's the problem of criminalization, with a worrying number of MPs facing criminal cases. That's a huge concern for obvious reasons. And finally, there's the issue of dynastic politics. And when we say dynastic politics, what we mean is a system where political power seems to get stuck within a few families. Leadership positions and tickets to contest elections get passed down like family heirlooms. And the problem with that is it can really squeeze out new talent and new voices from rising up, creating a kind of political bubble. Now, looking at all these challenges, it's easy to feel a bit, well, discouraged. But that is not where this story ends. Because in a democracy, the ultimate power to fix things always comes back to the people. And citizens are definitely not sitting back and doing nothing. You've got amazing voter education programs like SWEEP, which are all about getting more people, especially young voters, engaged. We're also seeing technology put to good use. There's an app called CVigil, where you can literally report an election violation the moment you see it. And of course, there's that constant push from the public demanding more transparency in how political parties are funding. And really, this is what it all boils down to. You can have the best laws, the most independent commission, but they're not enough on their own. The real strength of India's democracy, or any democracy, is its people. It's about citizens being active, engaged, and always watchful. So yes, there are challenges, for sure. But this combination of a strong system and an active public is what keeps elections the strongest pillar of Indian democracy. The system isn't static, it's always being tested and shaped. So the final question isn't just about protecting it, it's about actively building it. And that leaves us with one final thought. What role will you play?